Hi, my name's Sean with Alberta Solar Guide, and in this video we're going to talk about how you can keep yourself out of a bad solar deal. More specifically, making sure that the solar actually gets rid of your whole electric bill so you don't end up with a solar payment and an electric bill. Now, the reason this happens isn't because the solar's bad or because it doesn't work. The reason is because the payments on a smaller system look a lot better than the payments on a bigger system. So what happens is some companies will overpromise the performance on a smaller system, which can ultimately leave a customer with two bills. Now, let's get specific on the problem that you're trying to avoid. For example, let's say solar company A quotes you a system for $200 a month and tells you that it will cover your $280 a month electric bill. Obviously, that's awesome because you're saving $80 a month, or that's what you were led to believe. But after you get the system, you're still getting an electric bill between $60 to $100 every month, plus the solar payment. So what happened there is that you actually needed a solar system that was $275 a month to cover that $280 a month electric bill, but the $200 payment sounded a lot better than the $275 payment, and that's why it was proposed to you. A super easy way to protect yourself from this is just to check to see what your estimated annual production is going to be for the system and compare that to your last 12 months worth of kilowatt consumption, and making sure that the company is using a reliable design software. So Aurora is a great choice. But for an easier rule of thumb is just to make sure that the software can do a 3D model of your house, it can show the sun path, and it can also check to see if there's any shade, just so it can give you an accurate projection of what your consumption or your production is actually going to be. Now, this isn't as big of a deal in places where the government's in charge of utilities because it's a lot more simple. For example, let's say if on a month a family used 800 kilowatt hours worth of power, but the system only produced 700 kilowatt hours worth of power, they would have to pay for the difference of 100 kilowatt hours, which, I mean, is obviously annoying because they weren't expecting it, but they'd have to pay for the 800 kilowatt hours anyways. For Alberta, one of the biggest reasons that solar is financially feasible here, and even arguably better than other provinces, is because of solar clubs. Now, what solar clubs allow you to do is during the months when you're overproducing power, so during the summer, they actually allow you to switch onto a higher rate. Now, what this does is it increases the amount of money that you get for credits on your bill, so that can help tackle all those extra fees on your bill, like the transmission fees and distribution fees. Now, if you're not really sure what I'm talking about, that's totally fine. We have a totally separate video on this that you can definitely check out. Here's why unknowingly getting an undersized system is worse in Alberta. If we look at this graph, in order to benefit from solar clubs, you need to have a net positive month. Because if you switch onto a 30-cent rate on a net negative month, you will literally be paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour plus the fees, which is basically like paying 45 cents a kilowatt hour without fees. So for example, if you're paying for a 100 kilowatt hour difference, you'd have a $45 electric bill on top of the solar payment, where on today's rates, so about 11.5 cents, 100 kilowatt hours should only cost you $22 or around there. Good news is that'll only happen once, and because you're smart, you'll switch your rate back. The other problem is that because you have less net positive months, you end up paying more in fees because your system can't produce enough power to cover them, which prevents you from taking full advantage of the solar clubs. So once again, just make sure that the estimated annual production for your solar system is going to be around what you used for your kilowatt consumption in the last 12 months, preferably higher if you're allowed, but a lot of utility companies max you out at about 100% offset, but just to get as close to that number as possible. Now, another thing that you need to know about are production guarantees. To simplify it, basically what a production guarantee is it's a company guaranteeing a certain amount of production that your system's going to produce. So for most companies in Alberta, they're going to guarantee your production for 25 years, and they're going to guarantee 87% of what your estimated annual production is. Now, that's for 25 years, so most of the time for the first 15 years, you should have almost no problems because your system won't be degraded that much from like the heat and the sun. It's mostly after the 15-year mark that you need to be paying attention to. If you're running into problems prior to that, that's usually a bigger deal. That means your system was undersized or something's going on. So just a couple final notes. If a company doesn't provide you with a 25-year performance guarantee, I haven't really heard of a company that doesn't do that. So if they don't, I probably wouldn't choose them. Also, another thing, if you catch a company undersizing your system by a considerable amount and they do provide a performance guarantee, I still wouldn't go with them, because chances are if they did that to you, they've probably done that to a lot of other people, so they probably won't be sticking around for too long. Just to be specific, we're talking about people that get undersized systems by a few thousand kilowatt hours, not just 100 or 200 kilowatt hours. Because if you end up with like a $10 or $20 a month electric bill, it's not a huge deal. We're really just trying to protect the people that are getting like $100 plus electric bills when they're actually expecting nothing. Once again, my name's Sean with Alberta Solar Guide. I hope you got some good information out of that video. If you'd like a free quote or additional information on solar, feel free to give us some of your information at www.albertasolarguide.com, and we'll reach out to you in under 24 hours and get you in touch with the right people.